the other important topic on this chapter is the logical operators. Okay, the logical operators have there are a total 3 of them. The AND operator is to check to see if all the expression, you could have as many expressions as you want to. If each one of them is true, then the whole expression is true. The OR is if one of them is true, then the whole expression is true. The NOT operator here, it's to check to see if the opposite of the expression is true. So the logical operator, it's the one that we use to combine more complicated Boolean expressions. One example here is kind of a typical in figure out what's the differences between math and computer science. For example, if we want to figure out, okay, if we want to figure out further more things here, let's just figure out something like else if, okay. So now if we reach here, right, we know the percent is less than 60. Do we cover everything? Well, let's actually change the thing here. What about we want to say the percent is not just less than 60, we gave a F, right? We actually want to change to say it's the percent. What about we want to say percent is between 0 and 60. Okay. So if we want to make sure that the percent is actually between 0 and 60, and then we say you got an F. If it's below 0, then we think there's an input error, right? So it's a different situation. So one thing we can do here is we can use the logical operator. So we can say percent greater equal to 0, and the n%, and the percent is less than equal to 60. So we want to make sure that it's actually have 2 Boolean operators. It's between, it's a positive number, it's, and it is less than 60, right? For this case, we would say, all right, we limit the range. It's not like everything below 60 we say F, okay? So we actually limit the range, and then we'll say else. So the last else will say system.out.print9 will say input error, okay? So that's where we can use some logical operators, right? Okay, so if we want to execute this one, let's just say we gave 45, okay? Then we should print F, right? Okay, so we'll say 45. Typo. All right, and then we execute it. It says you got an F. But then what if we have a negative 45? And then we'll say executing it. It says input error. Okay, so I really want to make sure is that I want you to enter a grade between 0 and 100. So in this case, the last case is instead of just say less than 60, and we want to make sure you actually enter things between 0 and 100. So maybe we should even change this one here to say percent is greater than equal to 90, right? And percent is less than equal to 100. All right. So in that case, if I entering 145, let's see what happened. Interesting. So 145, and then it actually says, is this between 90 and 100? No, it goes here. So in this one here, again, we only check to have this one greater than 80, so that's not right. Actually, so we should, the correct one is if the percent is yeah, so we actually need to check here if it's greater than, so it's not in the range. It's even get more trickier if we really want to make sure. So we actually need to change to, on this one too, to make sure that they are not going beyond. So 100. All right, so we need to check to see they're not going beyond 100. All right, so now if I enter this one here, it's probably going to say execute input error. So anything that's above 100 or below 0, if I say negative, it's below 0, and then it will say input error. So by using some of the logical operators, and we can have much more control on figuring out if the user gives us the
Ma'am,
input.
hello.
Yes.
Ma'am, in the else if condition greater than equals to 80 and person less than equals to 90 also we can keep, no ma'am. Less than equals to 90, and this will be like increasing and decreasing order. Instead of keeping 100, we can do like that also, no ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, I just being lazy. You
Okay.
can add here to 90, you can add here to 90, you can add here to 90, but doing this less than 100 will solve everything.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Good observation. So that's the logical operator here. And again, as I said, in the expression can be quite complicated, right? We have, this is the algorithmic expression. We can connect them together by using the relational operator, and that will become a Boolean expression. And then the Boolean expression can be combined, can be combined into quite complicated conditions. Okay. That's pretty much the case for this chapter. Okay. The other thing kind of teach us about how we can use the for loops, how we can use the combine, the if statement. It can start doing a lots and lots of great algorithms here For example, if we want to find out, if I gave you a bunch of number and you want to find out, what's the biggest number in the group, what's the smallest number in the group, and what's the total sum of the number, what's the average of the number. You can do lots of statistics on it, okay? So pretty much if you know how to use the loop, how to use the if statement, and then we can write a lot of interesting application already. We can add the number together. Initially, we set to 0, and then we loop them over. We add the number, each number into it. Okay, so this is a cumulative sum. We can do a cumulative product too if we want to. And we can ask the user to give us the input, and we can find out, what's the biggest number here, right? All right. The text process, it's using the string method, okay? Every time when we talking about we are doing a string is a class, and the class means that it contains not just one thing, it contains a lot of things. So for example, if we have a string s equals leg period, the s, it's a reference that it's actually has an array of characters, and we'll talk about array later. So it's not just one value, it's actually quite a lot of values there, okay? The string has a method called character add. So if you give me an index, you want to find out which character is at this location. So if you give me the string object food, and you assign cookie to it, and then at the position 0, it's always start with position 0, and it will tell me it's the character C. All right. And so we can print out each of the characters, looping over them. So that's a string. And we can compare the characters. The character is actually stored as an integer value. I think in chapter 1 we talk about, for example, the character capital A is probably 76 or something number. So we can really compare the characters with each other. We can check to see if the character is S, or we can see if one character is bigger than or smaller than, because when we do this comparison, we actually compare the integer value of a character. Okay, so example here is that we print out the alphabetic here. Okay, here we go. So the character, each of the character has what we call the ASCII value. ASCII probably stands for American Standard for Character Input, something. Okay, so capital A has the value 65, and lowercase a has the value 94. So every single character in your keyboard corresponding to a number, okay? And so we can do what we call the typecasting. We can convert a character into an integer, and we can do actually the some additions or subtractions among the character in integer. So if we have A, we want to add 2 to that number, we actually get the character C out. Again, as I said, we're using double quote for the string and then single quote as a character. And a string, it's actually the group of characters in it. Okay. So I'm not going to really ask you to do the printf up till the string and character. And also very interesting about comparing strings. Comparing strings, we cannot using equal equal. Okay, if we're using equal equal for a string, and it's actually even though you entering the same thing, you know, say what is your name, and even though you enter your name as Barney, and it won't print the song. So we need to be very careful when we do equal equal on the object, because the equal equal doesn't really compare the content. They don't compare the content. They are actually comparing to see if these two objects pointing or referring to the same thing. They actually comparing the name and Barney's memory address. So we'll be very careful on comparing strings. So to compare if two strings are equal, we're using the method equals. We don't using equal equal, okay? We're using the method called equals to compare if two strings contain the same value. All right, so we're using the method equals, or we call the method equals ignore case. All right. Yeah, so that's pretty much the chapter 4 content here. Let's see if I want to do some of the, let's do some examples here. All right. Is the Codiva back here? Can I run? All right. Doesn't seem my Codiva runs. All right. But I still want to save the code here. Let's do an interesting algorithms here. So chapter 4, and I'm gonna say find max. All right, and then I can create that one, and let's do import java util.start. Okay, and we can do scanner again, and keyboard equal to new scanner and system.in. Okay. So what we're gonna do is, and we will have integer. For example, we can do a grade again, or we can do what's the max? Find max. We can do temperature, for example. And so let's do how many times? Let's do maybe a week, right? So we'll do 4 integer I equals 0 and I less than 7 and I plus plus, and then we'll inside here we'll say system.out.print 9, and we'll say enter temperature for day, say here, plus for day, say I plus 1. So when I equals 0, I'll say enter temperature for day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, etc. Okay? So for I plus 1, because my I start from 0. And then I will do temperature equals to keyboard dot next int. And now I can do, say, create. Actually, I'm going to create another one. I'm going to create another integer called max. Okay? Or actually, it's a better, I'll call highest. So I can do the if statement now. I'll say if I is 0, that means it's the first day. Then I can just set the highest equals to that day, right? I can set the highest to the 10th, okay? And then I'll say else. So now I is not 0. So what I'm going to do, and I can actually do else if the temperature that we just got is higher than the highest, then I reset the highest to equals that temperature. Okay? So by looking at this one, we can actually do a combine. So by looking at this one here, I probably can do a better one. So I can do this to show off. I'll say if I is 0. If I is equal to 0. Okay, that's one condition. Or if the temperature is greater than highest so far. Okay, and then I reset the highest to my temperature. Okay, so I copy this one and then I can go. All right. So I cannot do it here, right? So if I copy this one to the JDoodle, and I'll paste it, Control B. Let's just see. If I entering things like what's the temperature today? 60? I don't know. Is it 60? Hopefully tomorrow is 75, and then it's getting cold. 50. I don't know. 71. 45. Hopefully we don't go too low. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I don't know how to use this one, but I guess I have to put everything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2 more. 88. Then we go crazy weather, right? And then 50. Let's see if it's actually supposed to tell us the highest one is 88, isn't it, right? So if I execute, no public class found. Oh, we need to say public. If temp is greater than the highest, what's the problem? Variable highest might not have been initialized. One arrow. Oh. But, okay, they don't like it. All right, we'll just initialize it to be 0. That'll be fine. See if it's okay. It won't take my input here. It won't take my input here. Enter, and then I gave this one. Yeah, I don't know how to stop this. See?
Professor?
Yes.
I got it to work by hitting that little interactive button above the
There is,
command line.
here it's interactive.
Above that,
Here?
interactive.
Oh, here it is.
There. And then I executed it, and then it worked, and it let me interact with it.
Oh, good job. Thank you. All right, let's try one more time. Execute. Okay, so day 1, 50. Good job. Thank you. So enter, right?
And then I had to enter it at the bottom where it says result, the black box.
I have to enter here, the bottom.
Yeah, down where it says enter temperature for day 1, I had to enter it in there.
Oh, enter here. Oh, I see. Enter 50. Got it. What's next? Here we go. Okay, thank you. 76. Oh, it's a huge. All right, that must be the number then. All right, I'll try to beat it. 3, a 4. It's, well, it's a fake. Okay, so don't really look at this. 99. And day 6 is 45. And day 7, it's 66. So it's supposed to tell us 800 is the highest. Did I print that out? I didn't even print that out. Silly me. All right. It just ends there. So I should print out after the for loop, right? And I should print out. All right. So it's done. I'm done. Am I done? Yes. All right. Actually, I should in here print out system.out.print9, and then I will say highest, yeah, temperature is, and then I will do highest, right, and semicolon. Okay, now this time let's execute again. Day 1, this time I'd be more careful, 50 and 60, and hopefully we reach 70 and goes back down again, and 70, okay, we can do 73 and then goes back down. And 55, 43, and the last one is 22. Don't go that low. So it says highest temperature is 73, right? So if you look the whole week's roller coaster temperature, which is sounds like Chicago. So the highest one is 73. All right. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Good job. You guys teach me something here too. So I'm missing this one here, and I'm gonna put it back. So I guess when I run, they save my file, even though it's not really working. So they saved it.